Was your Tyler's Bag with another movie review. It's kind of weird. I did this on Tuesday when I did Sting Moment of Truth, where now it's just deep into our story. Yeah, we're getting this done and over with, so move on from that. The release was May 23rd of 1999. You can tell that date is infamous for that internet over the edge, which we're not going into that whole thing. Let's check the plot. Nothing. So, yeah, you can tell right away this is the most inaccurate account of a person ever. Like, you could tell right away they can't have his right story or his what he was doing in the World Wrestling Federation. Instead, let's talk about this. Just like I did my Sting Moment of Truth review, where I talk about what happened in the movie, which, side note, I saw this whole thing on YouTube. Thank God it's on YouTube for free, and now, at least the Sting Moment of Truth one had the real Sting in it. At least it talked about his stuff with, with the whole thing coming down from the rafters and, all that. This is none of thing like that. Scenes that make no fucking sense, cameos that make no fucking sense because they had to use 3 of WCW's wrestlers in it. Yeah, 3 actual WCW wrestlers who had nothing to do with him. So anyways, the film opens up with a match between the Jesse Ventura lookalike fighting Chris Kanyon in 1984. Where things got serious for him because Jesse suddenly collapsed in the middle of the ring. Where we'll get to that later on in this story where that happens. Where present day Jesse, who is the same guy, by the way, is our humble narrator. Where the actual story begins, where Jesse grew up in a military base and go to watch wrestling on the weekends. Where that whole thing where. And by the way, the wrestler they saw was Superstar Billy Graham. It doesn't look like anything like him. And he's wrestling in the fucking 60s. Then Ventura starts joining the military, and that whole thing did make sense, though. And then in 2 years, Jesse, ages about 10 and gained 100 pounds and all that. Now, I know we all know it's life story, but we don't remember ladder matches, 450 splashes, and mornings for some fucking reason in it. I mean, surely the research team can make a little bit of sense of it, really? Yeah, I know Brian's saying wrestling with Red talk about it, but still. I want to talk about it too, so there's that. Then Jesse got the itch to start training to wrestle, and I'm serious, what was with NBC and wrestling at this point between all this, but still. Then Jesse meets his future wife in a bar, and they go on to a date on. Takes her to a wrestling event on their first date, and then they get married, and then suddenly Jesse wrestles his first match against Goldberg. Why? And you're thinking Goldberg's gonna kick his ass, right? Wrong! So in his first match, Jesse Ventura defeats the undefeated champion Bill Goldberg in 1979. Yeah, like when Sting fought a Biz in a WCW match. Quotation marks. Like, seriously, what the fuck, man? Jesse Flores, the pro wrestler, being like a king, coming out on a motorcycle, all that. They, well, creating a wrestling unit for like, what, 2 seconds or something like that. Then there's a scene where Cannon, in like his third gimmick, inadvertently pile drives some guy off a top turnbuckle and injure him. And they return for the scene of the start of the movie where Ventura retires due to a blood clog, which that doesn't. I don't think that's really accurate at all. I think it's due to injuries and all that. Probably the legs or it's the knees or anything, something like that. And he transferred his other big role as a commentator with Gorilla Monsoon in WCW. That's not accurate. If there was a Rachel Mirror here, yeah, that would be up at like 100, but since it's not Brian Zane, though, but still. That Rachel Mirror, by the way, was hilarious in his review of it. Anyways, then, as time goes on, Jesse saw some change in wrestling fans, which, first off, this is place in the 1980s, by the way. And then they fucking... Oh my god, and then they do this fucking part of the movie. They recreate the Montreal Screwjob in the 80s with Raven and some other guy. Who is the other guy? Don't fucking know. So you're gonna tell me that Goldberg, Chris Canyon, and Raven time traveled through before they were famous in wrestling? Then again, most of the TNA wrestlers also, I guess, time travel in the Sting Moment of Truth movie. That was the last straw of Jesse Ventura, because there was supposed to be a schmoz in that. Jeez, where have I seen that before? Oh yeah, Survivor Series, Montreal screwed Survivor Series 97, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, yeah, that's the same fucking thing. Literally, Raven puts this guy in a sharpshooter, and then the promoter says, ring the fucking bell. Where have I seen that before? Jesse chasing him through the hallway, like, slams the door down, and I guess murder him off camera with a red screen and believe it, he was murdered off there. Had the movie end there, that would be like, okay, what the fuck? Nope, the movie continues after that. Jesse quits after that, starts in acting, and then becomes the governor of Minnesota. And now that's all I have to say about it. What the hell was that? Yeah, in the famous words of Crush the Clown from The Simpsons. Where do I begin? It was a made-for-TV movie to make Jesse Ventura proud, I suppose. This fucker should not have been invented. At least, like I said, I was being nice on the Sting Moment of Truth movie because Sting was there. The actual Sting. He was actually good at acting and all that. And I get... Also, right here, I understand why WC gets a mention because he did spend Jesse did spend time in the company as a color commentator. But the only reason I'm not giving this an F is because, WC gets a special thanks for doing all this. But I'm giving this a D-. Boring plot, shit acting, the mangle of the timeline, like, God. It's not as bad as Jason Takes Manhattan or Joker 2, but still. Late breaking news with Patrick, and then I'll do my countdown on video games with their invasion storylines. That's the one I chose. There's not that many, but there's like only like what? I'll count like brands, if any other brands, but still. And I might do the 3 reboot Halloween movie reviews from the late 2018 to like the last one, but yeah. But all I gotta say is Sting Moment of Truth was better than this because Sting was in that movie, like I said. Regardless of that. There'll be a late breaking news with Patrick tomorrow, and then I'll do my Raw review, and then Tuesday we'll read the countdown list, and then moving on from there. Like this video, comment below, subscribe to this channel, and notification bell, as well as my second NHL Towers Retribution you will see on Thursday. WWE No Mercy 2005, and we're done now. Goodbye.